Your soulmate screamed their love for you in front of everyone. You won't believe what happened. My beloved child, don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting, because what happened in front of everyone was something nobody expected, and your soulmate had reached the point where keeping their feelings hidden was no longer possible. For so long, they had carried words they desperately wanted you to hear. They tried to stay calm. They tried to act as though everything was normal. But the moment your name entered that conversation, something inside them changed. Everyone around them noticed it. Their expression shifted, their voice became filled with emotion, and suddenly they said what they had been holding back: they loved you. Not quietly. Not secretly. They declared it in front of everyone as though nothing else mattered anymore. And what happened immediately afterward left the entire room stunned. Don't skip, because that confession was only the beginning. Something huge is waiting for you, and the next part of this story changes everything you thought you knew about their silence. But here is where the story takes a surprising turn. Your soulmate had apparently been preparing themselves for this moment much longer than anyone realized. There were countless times when they almost told you everything, only to stop themselves at the final second. They wondered whether you would understand the depth of what they felt. They wondered whether the timing was right. Most importantly, they feared that one wrong moment could change the connection forever. So they remained silent while their feelings became stronger. Then came that unforgettable gathering. People were talking, laughing, and carrying on as usual when someone casually mentioned you. That single moment broke through every wall your soulmate had built. Their heart had something to say, and this time they refused to silence it. They stood there with everyone watching and finally let the truth come out with such conviction that the atmosphere completely changed. Stay till the end, because what someone in that crowd revealed afterward was even more surprising than the confession itself. Then came the detail nobody saw coming. After your soulmate admitted their love for you, there was a brief silence. And someone who had been watching everything suddenly revealed that this confession had been building for far longer than anyone knew. Your soulmate had apparently spoken about you before, but never casually. Whenever your name appeared, there was something different in the way they responded. They remembered tiny details. They noticed things other people overlooked. And now everyone finally understood why. But your soulmate wasn't finished. They said something else about you that made the entire confession feel completely different. This was never just a passing feeling. In their mind, you had become the person they could imagine beside them when life became bigger, quieter, happier, and more meaningful. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because after saying all of this in front of everyone, your soulmate made one unexpected decision, and that decision was directly connected to you. Something changed the second your soulmate finished those words, and nobody in that room was prepared for what came next. My beloved child, don't skip, because the confession everyone had just witnessed was not the biggest revelation. Your soulmate looked around at the stunned faces, took a quiet moment, and admitted something they had never said before: they had been imagining this moment for a very long time. Every time they tried to forget you, some tiny memory brought you back. A conversation. A smile. Something you once said without realizing how deeply it stayed with them. And then came the sentence that made everyone understand the truth: they were tired of pretending you were just another person in their life. You had become the one person their heart kept returning to, no matter how much time passed. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and their next words revealed why they finally chose this exact moment to stop hiding. What nobody knew was that something had happened shortly before that public confession. Your soulmate had suddenly realized that silence could cost them the one connection they valued most. They had spent so much time waiting for the perfect moment that they began wondering whether the perfect moment would ever arrive. And that realization changed everything. Instead of hiding behind uncertainty again, they decided that if your name came up, they would finally speak from the heart. Then it happened. Your name was mentioned, everyone looked toward them, and there was no turning back. They admitted that their feelings had grown stronger through all the moments when nothing was being said. They remembered your kindness, your energy, and the strange sense of familiarity they felt whenever they thought about you. But then someone asked them one simple question: what would you do if they were standing here right now? Their answer made everyone go completely silent. Don't skip. The words they gave were so unexpected that even the person who asked the question wasn't ready for them. And this is where everything shifted. Your soulmate said that if you were standing in front of them, they would stop hiding behind perfect words and simply tell you the truth. I chose you in my heart long before I had the courage to say it. For a moment, nobody responded. Then something even more surprising happened. Someone there admitted they had already noticed the connection between you two long before this confession. Suddenly, little moments from the past began making sense. The way your soulmate became unusually attentive whenever you were mentioned. The way they remembered details about you that everyone else forgot. The way their entire energy seemed to change around anything connected to you. But there was still one secret they refused to reveal in front of everyone. They only said, "There is something I need to tell them personally. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because that private truth is bigger than the public confession, and once you hear what they have been keeping inside, you will understand why this moment was never simply about saying, 'I love you.'" What your soulmate refused to reveal in front of everyone was the one truth that could change the meaning of everything. My beloved child, don't skip, because while everyone believed they had already heard the biggest confession, your soulmate knew they had only revealed half of what was inside their heart. There was another reason they had finally spoken about you so openly, and this reason had been growing quietly for longer than anyone realized. After the room settled, they admitted that there had been one particular moment with you they could never forget. To you, it might have seemed completely ordinary. Maybe it was something you said, a small act of kindness, or simply the way you made them feel understood without asking them to explain themselves. But to them, that moment became unforgettable. Whenever they questioned their feelings, their mind returned to it. Whenever they tried convincing themselves to move forward without saying anything, that memory appeared again. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The real surprise is not that they remembered that moment. It is what they decided because of it. Then came the revelation nobody expected. Your soulmate admitted that they had compared every new connection to what they felt with you, and somehow, nothing carried the same meaning. They could meet new people, stay busy, laugh, and continue with everyday life, but somewhere beneath all of it was one unanswered question: What if the person I have been searching for is already the person my heart refuses to forget? That question became impossible to ignore. And suddenly, everyone who had witnessed the confession understood why your soulmate had sounded so certain. This was not an impulsive burst of emotion. It was the result of countless quiet realizations finally reaching the surface. Don't skip, because just when everyone thought they understood, your soulmate revealed one more detail. They said there was something about your connection that they had noticed from the very beginning. Something so unusual that they had never experienced it with anyone else. And here is where the story becomes impossible to forget. Your soulmate said that with you, they never felt as though they needed to become someone else to be noticed. Somehow, even the simplest moments felt meaningful. That was the secret they had been protecting. They were not only holding feelings for you, they were holding a vision of what the two of you could become if both hearts finally stopped hiding. Then they made a decision that surprised everyone. They said the next words were not meant for the crowd. They were meant only for you. There was one final truth they wanted you to hear directly, because saying it publicly would never carry the same meaning. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because when your soulmate finally reveals what they want from this connection, you will understand why they screamed their love in front of everyone. And why that unforgettable confession was actually leading toward a much bigger moment. Then came the moment your soulmate had been building toward all along. My beloved child, don't skip, because what they wanted to tell you personally was far bigger than another confession of love. Everyone had already heard how deeply they cared about you, but there was one truth they believed only you deserved to hear. They were no longer thinking about you as a beautiful possibility. Somewhere along the way, you had become part of the future they quietly pictured when nobody else was watching. Not because everything between you had always been perfect, and not because they expected some magical story without uncertainty, but because something about you felt worth choosing deliberately. That was the shocking difference. Their public confession was emotional, but this private truth was intentional. They wanted you to know that if the opportunity ever came to build something genuine with you, they would not hide behind hesitation again. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next thing they admitted explained why they suddenly became so fearless in front of everyone. Nobody expected them to reveal that they had almost stayed silent again. Just moments before your name was mentioned, they had been telling themselves, not today. Then something inside them challenged that thought, if not today, then when? How many more moments would pass while the most important words remained unspoken? That question changed their entire mindset. Suddenly, protecting their feelings felt less important than being truthful about them. So when your name entered the conversation, they stopped calculating every possible outcome. They spoke. And once those words were finally out, something surprising happened inside them. They felt lighter. The secret they had carried for so long was no longer controlling them. Don't skip, because there was still one question everyone wanted answered. After confessing everything so openly, what would your soulmate actually do next? Their response was so simple that it made the entire room quiet again. They said they would not force the next chapter, chase a perfect ending, or pretend to know exactly how everything would unfold. They would simply make sure that if they ever stood face to face with you again, you would never have to wonder what you meant to them. That was their decision. No more confusing silence. No more pretending that your presence meant nothing. And then came the sentence nobody forgot: if I get one genuine chance to tell them everything, I will not waste it. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is still one final piece nobody in that room knew. Not even the person who first asked about you. Your soulmate had already imagined exactly what they wanted to say when that private moment finally arrived. And those words were not simply about love. They were about why, among all the people they had met and all the paths their life could have taken, their heart kept returning to you. And then the truth behind everything finally came closer to the surface. My beloved child, don't skip, because your soulmate had already rehearsed this moment countless times inside their mind, yet every imagined version disappeared when they thought about actually standing in front of you. They realized they didn't need a perfect speech. They needed one honest moment. They wanted to look at you and finally say, "You became important to me before I even understood what was happening." That was the secret behind all those emotions. It wasn't one dramatic moment that made their feelings grow. It was the accumulation of little things, the way certain memories of you stayed vivid, the way your presence felt different, the way thoughts of you appeared unexpectedly during completely ordinary days. And then they understood something that surprised even them: they had not been trying to forget you because you meant too little. They had been trying because you meant far more than they were ready to admit. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because there was still one realization they had never spoken aloud. The realization arrived when your soulmate asked themselves one question: why does my heart keep returning to this person? They searched for a complicated answer, but the truth was incredibly simple. With you, they had experienced something they couldn't easily reproduce elsewhere: a feeling of being understood without constantly performing, explaining, or proving themselves. That realization changed the way they viewed the entire connection. Suddenly, the public confession made sense even to them. Those words had escaped so powerfully because they had been held inside for far too long. Don't skip, because what happened afterward surprised everyone. Someone quietly asked whether your soulmate regretted revealing so much in front of people. They didn't hesitate. They said no. Not even for a second. Because for the first time, they were no longer hiding from what their own heart had been telling them. But then they added something nobody expected: the most important thing still hasn't happened yet. That sentence changed the atmosphere completely. Your soulmate explained that telling everyone how they felt was never the real destination. The real moment would come when they could finally tell you directly, without an audience, without distractions, and without hiding behind uncertainty. And there was one thing they wanted you to understand above everything else: their feelings were not about creating a perfect fantasy. They were about recognizing something meaningful and finally having the courage to acknowledge it. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has one final revelation left, something even deeper than "I love you." It is the reason they believe meeting you changed something inside them permanently. And once that truth is finally spoken, the confession everyone witnessed will suddenly look like only the first page of a story that was quietly beginning long before anyone noticed. But what your soulmate finally understood about you was bigger than anything they had confessed before. My beloved child, don't skip, because this is where every hidden feeling, every unfinished sentence, and every unforgettable memory begins connecting. Your soulmate realized that meeting you had quietly changed the way they understood love itself. Before you, they thought the strongest connections would always arrive loudly and make perfect sense from the beginning. But you were different. You became important through moments that seemed small at first, yet somehow stayed with them long afterward. Your words remained in their thoughts. Your presence became difficult to forget. Even during ordinary days, something would unexpectedly remind them of you, and that familiar feeling would return. Then they finally understood why their emotions had become impossible to hide in front of everyone. They were no longer questioning whether you mattered. They were questioning why they had waited so long to admit how much you mattered. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because one final realization completely changed what they wanted to do next. Then someone asked the question that brought everything into focus: if you could tell them only one thing, what would it be? Your soulmate became quiet. Everyone expected another dramatic declaration, but instead, their answer came from somewhere much deeper. They said, "I would tell them that they were never ordinary to me." And suddenly, every previous confession felt different. Your soulmate wasn't simply talking about attraction or one emotional moment. They were talking about the strange way one person can enter your life and leave a mark without even realizing it. They admitted that there were times when they wished they could return to certain moments with you, not to change them, but to appreciate them more deeply now that they understood what those moments meant. Don't skip, because the most surprising part came immediately afterward. Your soulmate said that if another opportunity with you appeared, they would recognize it differently this time. They would not allow fear or hesitation to speak louder than honesty. And everyone listening could tell from their voice that this was no longer just something they hoped to do. It had become a decision. And that decision is what makes the next chapter completely different. Your soulmate does not want another crowd to hear the words first. They want the next meaningful conversation to belong to you. No audience. No performance. Just the truth they once struggled to say. They want you to understand that screaming their love in front of everyone was never supposed to become the ending. It was the moment they finally stopped running from their own feelings. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is still one question left unanswered. What happens when the person who has finally found the courage to speak gets the moment they have secretly wanted all along? Your soulmate already knows the first words they would say. But what comes immediately after those words could become the most unforgettable part of this entire story, and nobody standing in that room could possibly have predicted it. And now the moment your soulmate imagined in silence is closer than anyone expected. My beloved child, don't skip, because this is where their public confession turns into something far more personal. After everyone heard them speak about you, your soulmate kept thinking about one thing: what would happen if you were suddenly standing right in front of them? They knew the crowd would disappear from their mind. Every rehearsed sentence would become meaningless. They would simply look at you and say, "There is something you were always supposed to know." Then they would tell you that their feelings did not begin on the day they screamed their love in front of everyone. That was only the day the secret became visible. The real story had started much earlier, through tiny moments they never expected to remember. Your voice. Your presence. The way an ordinary interaction could somehow stay in their thoughts long after it ended. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because what they wanted from you after finally confessing was not what everyone assumed. Here is the twist nobody in that room understood. Your soulmate was not expecting you to immediately give them some perfect answer. They were not looking for a dramatic promise. What mattered most was finally allowing you to know the truth. For so long, they had wondered whether silence was protecting the connection, but now they realized silence had only kept the most important part hidden. And once they admitted that, another surprising truth surfaced. They said that if they had one genuine conversation with you, they would begin with something incredibly simple: did you ever feel it too? That question had quietly followed them through every memory. Every meaningful glance, every conversation that felt different, every moment when neither of you seemed ready to say what was actually happening beneath the surface. Don't skip, because your soulmate had already decided what they would do regardless of your first reaction, and that decision revealed just how deeply this moment had changed them. Instead of running away from vulnerability again, your soulmate decided they would finally stay present and listen. They wanted to hear your truth as much as they wanted you to hear theirs. And that is when their confession became something bigger than the words everyone witnessed. It became a choice to stop hiding behind assumptions and finally discover what was real between you. But one final surprise remained. Before leaving that conversation, your soulmate said something that nobody had heard them say before. Maybe the reason I could never close this chapter is because it was never meant to end without the truth. The room became completely still. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next revelation explains the one moment from your past that your soulmate remembers more clearly than all the others, and once that memory comes forward, you will understand exactly why they could never treat this connection like something ordinary. What your soulmate remembered next was the moment that quietly changed everything. My beloved child, don't skip, because among every conversation, every glance, and every memory connected to you, there was one ordinary-looking moment they could never erase from their mind. Nothing spectacular happened around you. Nobody else understood its importance. But something you said made your soulmate feel seen in a way they had not expected. They carried that feeling away with them, and days later, they were still thinking about it. That was when the first question appeared inside them: why does this person feel so different? At first, they ignored it. Then the feeling returned. Again and again. Eventually they understood that the connection they had been trying to explain logically had already become emotional. And suddenly, the confession in front of everyone makes perfect sense. Those words were not created in that room. They had been waiting inside your soulmate since that unforgettable moment. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because there was one detail about that memory your soulmate had never revealed to anyone. The surprising detail was that your soulmate remembered exactly how they felt after leaving you that day. They kept replaying the conversation, wondering whether you had felt that same strange closeness. They almost reached out. They almost said something. But uncertainty stopped them. Time moved forward, yet the unanswered question remained. Then came other moments with you, and instead of weakening, that feeling became clearer. Your soulmate began realizing that they were remembering things about you they normally would have forgotten about anyone else. Your smallest words carried meaning. Your absence was noticeable. Your presence could change the entire atmosphere of a moment. Don't skip, because then your soulmate admitted something that surprised everyone listening. The day they finally declared their love was not the day they became courageous. It was the day they became tired of allowing uncertainty to write the story for them. They wanted truth to have its chance. But nobody expected what they decided immediately afterward. They decided that the next chapter could not be built from guesses. If another meaningful moment with you arrived, they would finally ask the question they had carried for so long: was there ever a moment when you felt this too? And whatever answer came, they wanted it to be real. That was the transformation nobody expected when your soulmate screamed their love in front of everyone. They entered that moment carrying a secret and walked away ready for honesty. But stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. There is still one final truth hidden beneath everything they confessed, and it explains why they believe your paths crossed for a reason they still cannot completely describe. Your soulmate has one last thing they would say if you were standing before them right now, and those words could turn this entire story upside down. Now comes the truth your soulmate could no longer keep buried beneath all those unfinished moments. My beloved child, don't skip, because what they would say if you were standing in front of them is not simply, "I love you." Those words have already been spoken. The deeper confession is this: meeting you changed what I thought I was looking for. Your soulmate finally understood why memories of you kept returning even when life moved forward. It was never about one perfect conversation or one unforgettable glance. It was about how naturally you became meaningful to them without trying. They realized that some of their happiest thoughts carried pieces of you inside them, and some of their biggest unanswered questions somehow led back to your connection. Then came the realization that surprised them most: maybe they had spent so much time wondering how to forget you when the real question was why their heart never wanted to. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because what your soulmate discovered next made that public confession feel almost inevitable. There was a moment after everyone had heard the truth when your soulmate finally became completely quiet. No more explaining. No more trying to make people understand. They simply thought about you. And in that silence, one powerful question appeared: if I had one chance to begin again with complete honesty, what would I do differently? Their answer came instantly. They would tell you sooner. They would stop assuming you already understood. They would stop waiting for some flawless sign before allowing themselves to be real with you. Most importantly, they would ask what was happening inside your heart instead of trying to guess from a distance. Don't skip, because then they admitted something nobody expected. They said the strongest part of their feelings was not the past, it was the possibility that your story might still contain a conversation neither of you has had yet. That possibility was exactly why their voice carried so much emotion when they confessed in front of everyone. And then came the sentence that made everything before it feel like preparation. Your soulmate said, "If our paths bring us face to face again, I want them to meet the version of me that finally knows what matters." That was the real transformation behind the confession. They were no longer waiting for everyone else to understand their feelings. They wanted you to understand them. They wanted one honest moment where neither person had to hide behind silence, timing, or unanswered questions. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because one final piece remains, and it is the most surprising part of this entire story. Your soulmate has already decided exactly what they would ask you after telling you everything. It is only one question, but your answer could completely redefine what that unforgettable public confession actually meant. And when you hear that question, every hidden feeling, every remembered moment, and every word they screamed in front of everyone will finally connect. This is the question everything has been leading toward. My beloved child, don't skip, because after all the feelings your soulmate kept hidden, after the moment they finally declared their love in front of everyone, and after every memory they carried in silence, they realized there was only one thing they truly needed to know from you. If we stopped being afraid of what this connection could become, would you give us one honest chance to discover it? That was it. Not a demand for certainty. Not a request for some perfect promise. Just one genuine chance to stop wondering. Your soulmate had finally understood that the biggest unfinished part of your story was not what happened in the past, it was everything neither of you had ever allowed yourselves to say. And the moment they imagined asking you that question, something inside them became clear. They were no longer afraid of being honest. They were more afraid of allowing something meaningful to remain forever unspoken. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because even after asking that question, your soulmate had one final revelation that nobody in that room had heard. They admitted that screaming their love in front of everyone had taught them something they never expected. Sometimes the biggest moment is not when everyone finally hears your truth, it is when you finally hear your own truth clearly. For so long, your soulmate had analyzed every feeling, questioned every memory, and wondered whether time would eventually make you less important. Instead, the opposite happened. Distance gave them perspective. Silence made certain memories louder. And that public confession became the instant when everything they had been resisting finally made sense. They loved you, but even deeper than that, they valued what they became when their feelings were honest. They became courageous enough to stop pretending. Don't skip, because this is where the once-in-a-lifetime revelation appears. The crowd thought they were witnessing someone confessing love to an absent person, but your soulmate believed they were actually making a promise to their future self, a promise that if life ever placed you before them again, they would not waste the moment. So imagine that moment finally arriving. Your soulmate sees you, and suddenly the crowd, the confession, the waiting, and every unanswered question become background noise. There is only you and the truth they carried for so long. They look at you and say, I cannot rewrite what we never said before, but I can be honest about what I feel now. You mattered then. You matter now. And if there is still a chapter here, I want us to discover it honestly. That is what happened after your soulmate screamed their love for you in front of everyone. They stopped hiding from the possibility of you. And perhaps that was the biggest surprise of all. Their confession was never the ending. It was the moment they became ready for a beginning. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you whenever truth finally replaces uncertainty. And sometimes the most unforgettable love story begins with two people realizing that the words they were afraid to say were the very words that could finally change everything.